Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration of modal scales. So there's 7 modal scales altogether, and the important thing to remember is the order of the modes. So the first mode is called Ionian, and it's commonly called major scale. I'll do this in the key of C. So that's C Ionian. So you can obviously play this in any of the 12 keys. So the second mode along is Dorian. Now if you're doing this in the context of one key, the key of C, it would then be D Dorian. The next mode would then be E Phrygian. The next mode would then be F Lydian. The mode after that is G Mixolydian. The 6th mode is A Aeolian. And the 7th mode would be B Locrian. But what I'm going to do here is play each mode on the same position. I'm just going to do them all on C so that you can hear the difference between the individual modes, just as scales in their own right. Now the characteristic of this particular mode is that it's a minor mode, but it has a 6th note rather than the flattened 6th which is found in the Aeolian mode, and also called the natural minor. So this is Dorian mode again. And now over 2 octaves. So this mode is used a lot in jazz improvisation, used in blues a lot. It works really well with minor 7th chords and chords derived from minor 7ths. So the next mode along is Phrygian mode. Now, when you're playing this as a scale in its own right, it's got a very distinct flavour. And one characteristic of this mode is got a flattened 2nd. Flattened 2nd. It's also a minor mode, so it has a flat 3rd. So the scale has a sort of slightly exotic or Spanish flavour. Okay, so that's Phrygian mode. There's a lot you can do with it. Works really well over minor chords. Works perfectly over augmented 9ths as well. Now we move on to Lydian mode. So this is the 4th mode. And this is a major mode, but the characteristic of it is it's got a sharpened 4th. And that's, it may sound a little unusual at first when you're thinking about keys, but again, it's really useful as a scale in its own right. So here we go, Lydian mode. The next mode along is 5th mode, Mixolydian. Now this again is a major mode, but it also has a flattened 7th. So you could think of this scale as being almost like a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord in scale form. It's really good for jazz and blues. There's the flat 7. next mode along is the Aeolian mode. So this has got a flattened third, a flattened sixth and flattened seventh. This is also called natural minor scale or relative minor scale. The final mode is Locrian mode. So this mode is a mode that sometimes people get a little bit scared of using because everything's flattened, and at first it sounds quite strange. But this mode is really useful because you can play it with a half diminished chord. So there's Locrian mode. So those are the 7 modes. If you learn the fingering of each one, your playing will expand enormously. So I'd highly recommend you learn the finger patterns of the modes initially from the E string and then eventually from the A string as well. The opportunities for using modes are really far-reaching. Each mode fits with a whole different variety of chords, so it's really good to be able to match up scales with chords in this way because it gives you a lot of flexibility with your playing. Okay, so that's modes.